First up, we have squats. You see me stepping back, making sure that my feet are planted and I am ready to go before I squat. I prefer a sumo squat, so I have my feet a little bit further than shoulder width apart. My toes are pointed out. I'm making sure that I'm sitting my hips and my butt backwards, and I'm pushing up through my heels and the ball of my foot to feel this in my glutes. That is how I prefer to do my squats. My shoulders are staying in a straight line, as you can see in this angle, above my knees, and my butt is sitting all the way back, almost like I'm sitting in a chair. You want to make sure to get some depth within your squat, which does come with flexibility. I'm doing a low bar squat, so I do have the bar sitting a little bit lower on my traps. Now this is just showing you another way that you can practice your squats before you go with a barbell. Having your feet in front of a bench, sitting back like you're sitting in a chair to try to get that form down before you add any weight. Next up, we have hip thrusts. I prefer to use this decline bench just because the other benches at my gym are a little bit too high for me. And when I use the higher benches, I tend to feel it in my quads instead of my glutes. So I just roll the barbell up to my hips. I have my hip thrust pad on so that it does not hurt my hips. And then I prefer to have my feet a little bit further apart. I recommend either shoulder width or a little bit more than shoulder width. You have to do what works best for you and where you feel it most in your glutes. From there, you want to keep your chin tucked in. You want all of the movement to happen in your hips, and you don't want your upper body to be rocking back and forth. As you can see, my shoulders and my head are staying in the same spot. My feet are staying planted flat on the ground as well. This is just another way to do a hip thrust if you are not using a barbell with large plates where you can roll it up onto your hips. This is just another way to do it. You can use a preloaded barbell and just have it standing up and tip it down onto your hips. For the Romanian deadlift, you want to keep your feet planted flat on the floor. You want your feet shoulder width apart, a slight bend in your knees. You do not want to lock out your knees, but this is a hinging movement. So you want to stick your butt back to the wall in this video. You want to keep your back flat, no curving of the back, and your head and neck in line with your back. You are going to go down as far as you can, as far as your mobility allows. I am going down pretty far just because I do have a lot of flexibility in my hamstrings. I am using a mixed grip on this just because when you go a little bit heavier, sometimes using a mixed grip with one hand forward, one hand reverse, it helps you to hold the weight and be able to grip the barbell. For the conventional deadlift, it is similar to the RDL. This one is more of a squatting motion. So you are going to be putting your hips down instead of back straight towards that wall. With this one, you want to make sure that you, again, are keeping your core tight, your back flat, your head in line with your back. As you can see it from the front angle, I am still utilizing the mixed grip just to help me grip onto the bar. And you can also see that my knees are staying in line with my hips and my feet. They are not caving in or flaring out at all. You want to make sure that you are utilizing your upper body with your lats and your lower back, engaging those to be able to pull up on that deadlift. For a sumo deadlift, you're going to take a wider stance, so your feet will be further than shoulder width apart. You're going to point your toes slightly outward, still keeping your feet flat to the floor for the whole entire movement. This one is definitely more of a squat motion. You are putting your hips down and still coming up with that back flat, engaging your core to pull up, keeping the barbell close to your legs on the way up, close to your shins and close to your thighs. Again, I'm utilizing that mixed grip, and this time your hands will be in between your legs when holding the barbell. I prefer to keep my head neutral and continue looking forward, since this is more of a squat motion versus a hinging motion. Last movement is a reverse lunge. So you are using the one leg and pushing it backwards to complete your lunge. You want to make sure that you're not slamming that knee onto the ground. You want to keep this movement slow and controlled, pushing back so that your knee is not over your toes. Make sure that you're sitting back far enough in your reverse lunge. Keeping your upper body straight up, you want to make sure that your chest is still facing forward and you're not bending over or falling backwards because of the weight. Keeping your core tight on the way up, pushing up through your heel to feel it in your glutes. As you can see from the front angle, my knee is staying in line with my hip and my foot. It's not caving in or flaring out at all. So those are the main lower body exercises that I decided to cover in this video for form. My number one form tip would always be to engage your core. I know that I didn't say it on the voiceover on every single exercise, but it is so important to engage your core and keep your core tight on all of these exercises. Especially when you have weight loaded on your back, you want to make sure that you have your core tight to be able to still stand upright and not cave in and hurt yourself, especially hurting your lower back. So, number one tip, always engage your core, and always remember that if something doesn't feel right, if you are feeling pain and not in the way of like your muscles are getting sore from working, if you feel actual pain, reduce the weight, take the weight off completely. Make sure that you are always prioritizing how you feel. There are different ways to do each one of these exercises. There are different feet positionings if you want to keep your toes out, toes forward, whatever it is individual to each person and where you want to feel the movement. I always focus all of these movements in my glutes because that is something that I am trying to grow more of than my quads or anything else. So make sure that you do what feels best for you and try out some different foot placements or different stances to see what works best for you. There obviously isn't just one way to do it, but there is correct form for each of the exercises. So thank you guys for watching this video. If there are any other exercises or like body parts that you want me to do common exercises for just like this and give you some form cues, then let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.